Welcome back to Tanya in 5. The last few days we have been studying chapter 19. In chapter 18 we established that every Jew has within them the godly spark, and that godly spark contains the HAMPSTEAD'S, the hidden love for God. This hidden love, as we described, is super rational and is expressed in faith. In chapter 19, the Alter Rebbe now is going to give us a deeper understanding of what exactly is the nature of this hidden love. You see, in the preceding chapters, in 17 and before that, where we discussed love of God that is born out of a deep understanding and contemplation on the beauty and greatness of God, the love there is experienced by an intense desire to want to get closer to God. Feelings of attraction. This is how most love is experienced. There's a person there, I'm here, and because I love that person, I want to get closer. Now that experience of love implies that there's some distance between the one who's loving and God toward whom I am expressing love. And therefore I want to get closer, because right now we're at a distance. Now this love is not the same thing, because this love, as we described in chapter 18, is a godly spark that's already there. So it's not as if there's some distance between this godly spark and God that he wants to get closer. So what exactly is the experience of this love? We might use the word in English, existential, to describe this love. It's an existential state of being. I am Jewish. I have a part of God in me, and nothing in the world can change that fact. And I will give up everything in the world if it means I'm going to maintain that existential state of me being attached to God. In fact, if my soul had its way, it would completely abandon this world, abandon my body, and lose itself within its ultimate source, God Himself. Like a flame that's dancing, trying to jump out of the wick, even though if the flame left the wick, it would stop being a flame. It doesn't matter. It's inexplicable. It wants to leave its current state of being and descend. The same thing is true of the godly soul. If it had its way, because of its existential being a part of God, it would abandon everything to be literally a part of God. Now, the reality is that God took that godly spark and put it into an animal soul and a body. And the animal soul and the body leads us to distractions. The beauty of the world around us and all of the desires and pleasures that it offers and all of the anxiety it gives us distract us from that existential attachment we feel to God. And therefore, this attachment is kind of asleep while I'm being distracted by the pleasures and worries of this world. But if it came to an event that touched at the core of my existential attachment to God, that sleeping hidden love will come roaring out and fight back to everything, not to, God forbid, detach itself from its existential attachment to God. And so, as it has happened in history, and God forbid, should it ever happen again, if a Jew is told, you bow down to that idol and denounce your relationship with God, or you are put to death, the Jew will choose death. Inexplicably. Not because the Jew is some big scholar and understands that it's going to get a share in the world to come. That's not the way it was in history. There were Jews who were not such observant Jews and still gave up their lives. Why? Because there is a Neshomo that is existentially attached to God. And when it is prodded and when it is woken up, it will give up on everything, including its very life, rather than to denounce or detach itself from God alone. In modern terms, we might see this experienced and expressed in the following scenario. I'm sure you've experienced this. You meet someone, a Jew, who is a self-professed atheist. And then you tell them, oh, you're an atheist? You're not Jewish. Now all of a sudden, a person's offended. I'm not Jewish? Of course I'm Jewish. Well, rationally speaking, if you're an atheist, what makes you a Jew? It doesn't matter. It's not a rational thing. A Neshomo cannot accept the fact that it's not Jewish. So it can rationalize its way to all kinds of beliefs. God does exist, God doesn't exist, but don't you dare tell me I'm not Jewish. That's this super rational soul attachment that the Jew has to godliness, that it cannot give it up. And so we see that this existential attachment to God also incorporates fear. Existential attachment to God and existential fear of detachment from God. The takeaway from all of this is, don't think you need to convince yourself or other Jews to have faith. They already have it, and you already have it. It's just a question of finding that which will prod and poke that faith so that it comes to the fore. Looking forward to seeing you when we conclude chapter 20.